Hello guys and welcome back. So in this section we're going to briefly introduce you to Adobe XD. Now this is not a design course, so we're not going to be talking about the software too much, but it's a simple and fun tool to have to know about. So Adobe XD is free, so you can just download it here. Of course you need a Adobe account, and once you set all that up we can go ahead and open up the software and continue with our project. Alright, so once you open up Adobe XD, this is what you're going to be greeted with. So here we have a start a new design section where you can choose what we are designing for. And since we are doing a mobile app, let's go ahead and select the iPhone XX. Actually, we can change this here because the iPhone X does have the annoying notch up there. So let's just change it to iPhone 6, 7 or 8. Alright, opening that up, I'm going to make this full screen. And now, just like any software, you can assume if you hold Control and scroll, you can zoom out. Alright, now this is going to be our main screen here. The first screen the user opens. Now here we have some shapes, and basically you're going to be using these shapes to create your elements, the elements that the user will see. So I do have an idea of what I want to do, but I guess if you have an idea for an app and aren't aware of how you want to design it, it would be nice to find some inspiration maybe in some different apps. But for now, since I know what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get right to it. The first thing I want to do is create a header. A lot of apps do have a header, and since our app focuses on food ordering, we will need a header for a menu and a cart icon here. So let's go ahead and select this rectangle tool here, and we can just create a nice rectangle. Okay, alright. Whoops. Let's make sure that it fits. Alright, here we have our rectangle, but it is white. If you look at to the right side, here we have the fill and the border. So we can change the fill color here. Since we're doing a fast food application, I guess we need some kind of yellowish orange color like this. Alright, and maybe make the header a little bit bigger. There we go. We can also add a border, maybe make it black but not too black. We can also increase the size of the border, but you can play around with this as you wish. Alright, now what I want to do is add a text here, a title, so we can line this up nicely here. And here you can add the name of your app. Or this title. I'll just call it barbecue, since oops. Let's select the text, make sure it's aligned centered here, and here right here we have the font size, which let's set it to maybe 34. All right, make sure to align it here, and here's the font type, and I'm just going to make sure that it is bold. It just looks better when the text is bold. Let's center it again. Change the color to a black color. Nice, looks very clean, very good. And of course we can change the font if you want. You can also download and import your own fonts. Let's see. I'll just keep this default option here. All right. Next thing I want to do is I want to create a menu here for the sidebar. So what I can do is just simply take the line tool and create a line. All right, make sure this line is black. We can increase the size of the line. All right, I'll just copy and paste it 2 more times. There we go. Maybe the size is big. Let's say 3 for all of these. I am holding shift to select multiple. 3. All right, and maybe just bring them closer to each other. All right, and now select all of them and just align them like that. All right, looks great. And here of course you can add a icon for the card. You can download icons and add them to Adobe XD. You have a site here adobe.com products XD resources, where we have a lot of amazing resources that will help you when using Adobe XD. You have the Apple Design Kit, the Material Design Kit, and Microsoft's UWP Design Kit. Of course, you can download a ton of kits to help you for your design. You have stuff parts, WatchOS, e-commerce, just a lot of things which make using this app a lot of fun. Using the software a lot of fun. Alright, so we're almost done with the first screen. Now I have here the pictures that I want to use on this title screen. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop the picture here. And we can see the picture is enormous. Yeah, we have all three of these pictures here. But this picture of this burger is enormous. So let's just go ahead and scale it down. Alright. Now you'll notice that whenever I stretch it, it resizes to keep the aspect ratio. That is because the ratio is locked here. If I were to unlock this, we can do with it whatever we like. Of course, the image does seem stretched and it loses some quality, but that's what we gotta do in XD. I mean, XD is very limited with features it has. I know many people aren't satisfied and request a lot of features to be added here. For example, Photoshop is still greatly being used for designing apps because it just has a ton of features that XD doesn't have. But XD is, I mean, it's a fun tool to play around with and it's free, so you can basically pick it up and just play with it and see if you make something that you like. Alright, let's go ahead and now add the pasta. Also unlock this. Keep in mind that I am not a great designer, but I like to, you know, just play around with it. Sometimes it's good to have a creative outlet, even if you aren't very creative. All of us can be creative if you at least try or give it a shot. Alright, this needs to be a little resized. Of course, if you want to be very precise, which you should be, you can look at the values here and make sure all of them are similar. Alright, now that we have our images of the foods, we can select one of them, and actually we can change the opacity, which kind of adds an effect to the image. Alright. Okay, makes it look maybe even 80. No, since we reduce the quality, adding opacity just adds some flavor to it, I guess. Okay, and now we want to add some text here. So pick up the text component, go ahead and center it, and write here burger. Okay. Now the burger, we don't want the power clear font, we want this font, so that's that one. Okay. Maybe even increase the font size. So 42. Okay, there we go. Burger. Alright. I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. And that's going to be... Okay, that's done. And finally copy this again. And this here is going to be pizza. Alright. Now that looks very nice, considering that we just did this in a few minutes and this is the first time we opened Adobe XD. So now if you want to add another screen, what we can do here is we can simply copy this one and just paste it over here. Of course we actually select this, the iPhone 6, 7, 8, and copy that. Alright, so now we can change the title of this one and call it, okay, and call this home screen, and this can be our second screen. But of course we need to get rid of these elements. Alright. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for this section on Adobe XD. The course focuses on React Native, not on how to design an app, and I hope you guys will play around with Adobe XD if you're into design. If not, you can just skip all this and download the XD file of the design of the app that we will be attaching here. Anyways, thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next lecture. Goodbye. Hello guys, and welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am very excited to start this project with you, so let's go ahead and just continue. So last time we saw what we were going to build, and now we are going to download the tools that we need. Now let's go ahead and navigate to Google. Use your favorite browser. I like to use Safari because I'm on this Mac machine. And remember, when developing, it's really about knowing how to Google things. Google is your best friend, well, your friend who likes to spy on you. Anyways, let's just go ahead and type in React Native project setup. Now React Native was built by Facebook. Let's go ahead and open this first link. Here we have two tabs. For the Expo client, which I don't like using, I just prefer the React Native client. I think Expo is kind of not up to date as much as React Native, so I just like to use this React Native client quick start. Now we choose the development operating system. I'm running a Mac, so I will select Mac, and the target OS is iOS. The Android is very similar. Now if you're using Windows or Linux, you will notice that iOS is unsupported. Well, thank you, Apple. Apple doesn't like people developing for Mac unless they have a Mac. I mean for iPhone. So you're gonna have to look at the Android setup. We're going to have a separate lecture on how to, which will walk you through this process. But in this one, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to set this up for Mac. Alright, so first we need Node and Watchman. Node is basically a package manager, which you will see, which will help us install a lot of useful packages. So first thing, we need to run this brew install node command. Just run this in your terminal. I already have this, so I'm not going to be running it. And also the installation takes a while, so I don't want you guys waiting for me to install. Once that is done, simply install Watchman. Just run this command as well in your terminal. You might be asked for permissions. Whoops. Cancel this. You might be asked for permissions, but in that case, just type in sudo and the command. You will be asked for your password. Now on Windows, I think it's just su. On a Mac, I believe it's sudo. Alright, moving onwards. Finally, we need to install the React Native client. Just copy this command and run it in your terminal. Here you also have these wonderful warnings if you get an error, how to fix it. And also on Mac, you should have Xcode, but if you don't, just download it. It's, I think, 9 gigabytes. You need the Xcode command line tools. So as soon as you're ready, as soon as you download all of this, just continue the video. And now we just create our new application, and this is very simple. So make sure that you are in your desktop folder. If you are not, you can just type in on Mac cd desktop. On Windows, it's very similar. So now we type in React Native, init as in initiate, and the name of our project. I will call it our project. Now you will see React Native has created a folder here, and it's now creating the project. This shouldn't take a while. While this is setting up the project, I want to show you, we also need a code editor. So let's go ahead and open a new tab. I like to use Visual Studio Code. You can basically use whatever you like. If you want to use it, you can use Notepad if you want. Whatever suits you best. I like Visual Studio Code, and that is what I'm using. People use all kinds of things, but I think you should use something that is lightweight, like Visual Studio Code. We are only going to be typing code. You don't need something special. Alright, our project is created, and now make sure that we navigate to our project. Now we are in the desktop folder, and I'm just simply going to say cd as in change directory, our project. There we go, we are in our project. Now, for running the iOS emulator, we run React Native run iOS. React Native run iOS. For Android, we run Android. Now, the thing is, if you are running a Mac, and if I type React Native run iOS, this will start up the emulator on its own. Alright, that's pretty cool and convenient. However, if you are on Windows, you need to download Android Studio. Alright, this is Android Studio, just download it from the internet. Again, we're gonna have a lecture on how to do this as well. And then, when you have Android Studio, you need to open the Android Virtual Device Manager here, this icon. And you need to create a virtual device. I like to take a Nexus 5X. Make sure that it has this Play Store icon, because it enables us to have Google Play services like Google Maps, which we will have in a later app for the delivery people. And then you will need to run this emulator and then run the command React Native run Android. Now I would like to show you that, but my machine doesn't like me running two emulators and recording at the same time. So this just slows everything down, and I don't want you guys to wait here and look at this code being built. So the first time the app is installed, it takes a few minutes, but as we move forward, you'll see it's very quick. Now while this is working, building, I want to open Visual Studio and actually show you how the project looks like now. So I'm going to click Command O to open. You can just go ahead and click File, Open, whatever you like. And here's our project. It's going to open this entire file, entire folder. Alright, here we have, you can see tests, app test, the Android folder. Now we're going to learn a lot about this later, as well as the iOS folder. And here we have the node modules. These are basically libraries that are going to help us build our app. Here we have some configuration files and the app.js file. This one will be run as soon as the app is built. Now, if you're new to React Native, this might seem confusing, but don't worry, it's very simple and intuitive. So here you see we have some text which says welcome to React Native. To get started, edit app.js, which is this file. So in theory, if we did everything right, we should see this screen on our emulator. As soon as it builds, of course. I think we are going to continue this in the next lecture. Once this is built, we can explore this project further. Thank you very much for watching. If you had any issues with this setup, be sure to message me, I will help you. Usually when you're setting up something for the first time, it tends to, well, you tend to get some issues. But once you learn that, the next few times it's very, very simple and straightforward. It seems like this might be done. Never mind. Anyway, I'll see you in the next lecture. Goodbye. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name is Armin Sarajlic and I will be guiding you through the process of setting up the React Native environment for developing mobile apps on the Android operating system. We are going to use this short tutorial written by Infinite Thread because I think it's also easier for you to have all the steps written down in front of you. In the first step, they are mentioning some prerequisite and prep work. Of course, we need to have some things already installed on our computer before we start. One of those things is to have the latest Java version installed. After that, we want to make sure and download the newest JDK or Java Development Kit. It says here version 7, but that's already outdated. So what we need to do is go into Google and look for Java JDK download. It should give us a link from oracle.com, Java SE Development Kit 8. If we open this and accept cookies, we should be able to download the latest version. We need to accept the license agreement And for my computer I want to choose the Windows 64-bit installation. If you click on this, it should start the download for you. I'm not going to do that since I have already installed this version. Once you have done that, it's time to install the Node Package Manager, which is something used to add different modules and stuff like that into your projects. It's as simple as typing download node into Google and opening up the first link, which is nodejs.org/downloads. Recommended for most users seems fine. Choose Windows installer and it should automatically give you the appropriate version for your computer. If you save that and then install it, you should be able to use the npm commands. I have already installed that, so I'm going to skip this part as well. After that, we need to download and install Android Studio. If you are not familiar with Android Studio, it's a software which is free that's used to develop Android applications with Java. I also have Android Studio installed, but that shouldn't take too long. So if you go into Google again and type Android Studio download, you should be greeted by developer.android.com. If you open up that link, there will be a big green button saying download Android Studio, which is 700 megabytes, but it's going to be a bit larger later on when we need to download some external tools and packages. But don't worry about it. And then we should be ready to go when it comes to the pre-required software. After that, we need to create an environment variable with the Java SDK path. Now, this is where many people get confused, and I cannot help you much with that because you need to find your Java SDK file path by yourself, since it's going to be different probably on your computer. It says right here that we need two variables, one for Java Home and one for Android Home. However, on my computer I only set up the Android Home variable and it's working perfectly fine. However, you might want to set up both of them just to make sure that everything runs smoothly. In order to find the environment variables, open up your Windows search and type environment variables and open up the first best match. You will have a system properties window open and make sure to navigate to the advanced tab, and then in the bottom right corner you have one big button saying environment variables. When clicking that, it will show you all of the environment variables that you have set up or the system has set up on your computer. Here's the Android Home variable that we need, and this is where my SDK is located on my machine. In order to add new variables, just click on New and type the name of the variable, which is going to be Java_home in all capital letters. Just make sure you follow the exact same notation as here. And for the value, we want to type in the path for the SDK. Once you have finished that, click OK. I'm not going to do that since I already have it working. Then click OK again, apply and OK. Step 2 is configuring an Android virtual device, which is basically an emulator. So we need to open up Android Studio, create an empty project, which is very simple to do, and then we need to create an Android virtual device and start it up. This is where things get tricky because you need to have some other tools installed as well. I'm going to show you what you need exactly. If you open up Android Studio, and this is an empty project that I created just for this purpose, then you need to go to Tools, SDK Manager, and this is where you download all of the external things for Android Studio. Make sure you navigate to the tab called Android SDK if you are not already in there, and then within SDK platforms you can choose different operating systems that you want to develop for. If you download just Android 8.1 and maybe 9.0, it should be fine. However, you can download all of them if you want, it's up to you. but 8.1 and 9.0 should be recommended. If you are not sure how to download it, you just need to check the checkbox and click apply, and it will automatically download and install it. Once you have installed these, then go to the SDK Tools tab. And here's what you need to run a React Native project. First off, we want to install the Android emulator, then Android SDK Platform Tools, Android SDK Tools, all of the Google Play services that we have listed here, Intel x86 emulator acceleration, and NDK. We don't really need the support libraries, however, if you really want them, you can also download them. So once you have selected that, again click apply and OK, and they should be installed within a few minutes. Once you have done that, you can either click on Tools again and go to AVD Manager, which stands for Android Virtual Device, or you can click this little icon right here, which is going to do the same thing. It's going to open up this Virtual Device Manager. So right here I have the emulator that I usually use for development, but if you have newly installed Android Studio, maybe you don't have this. But don't worry, it's easy to create. So click on the bottom left corner saying create virtual device, and then we need to choose a device from the list. Of course we are going to choose a phone, and Pixel 2 seems to work very good for me because it's a full HD phone and it has a decent size. Also, you might want to choose the ones that have Play Store enabled, since we might be using some Play Store services in our applications. Select your device and then click on Next. After that, you are prompted to choose the operating system for the device. If you don't have these operating systems, you can download them by clicking the download button right next to the name. We are going to choose Oreo, which is 8.1, API level 27. Make sure to select this one as well. And click on Next. Now we can give a name for this device. After that, click on Finish, and your device should be appearing in this list. Now in order to run this device, you need to click this play button inside of the Actions tab. For the first startup it might take a while, but later on it should be pretty quick. If we go back to the tutorial, you can see that we basically did everything from this list. Now it's time to jump into the command line. First, open up your command prompt and navigate to where you want your projects to be. I'm going to create an empty folder on my desktop called Projects, just to keep things organized. Then I'm going to open up my Windows search and type in command prompt and navigate to this folder. So right now I'm in some other directory. I'm just going to navigate to desktop and then navigate to projects. Now that I'm inside of the projects directory, we can continue to the next step. Now we need to install React Native globally. To do that, we can just copy this command. npm install g React Native command line interface and press enter. After that, we are already able to create our first project. However, we are not going to use the default project setup. We are going to use something called Ignite. So we can skip everything from this part. If we go into Google again and type in React Native Ignite and open up Infinite Threads project on GitHub, it's something that's going to help us save a lot of time with the project setup and the architecture of the project itself. So what we need to do, first you can see that they are using Yarn to install this, so we also need to install Yarn. Again, go into Google and type in download Yarn, open up the installation tab from their official website, choose a stable version and choose your operating system, then download the installer and install it, and then you should be able to use the Yarn commands. Open up our command prompt and type in the command from here. So yarn global add ignite-cli. Now that the ignite CLI is added, we can move ahead to our project setup. So in order to create a new project, the command is ignite new and then the name of the project. I'm just going to name it our project. Now it's going to give you some options that you need to choose for your project. You can navigate using the arrow keys and select using the enter key. We want to choose the Andros boilerplate template, which has React Navigation, Redux and Redux Saga already installed. Would you like Ignite development screens? I'm going to say no for this. What vector icon library would you like to use? Let's say React Native vector icons. Internationalization library, none. Animation library, none. Would you like to include Redux persist? You can choose whatever you like for this. What it means is basically, imagine that you have a cart system within your applications where you can add different products. If you are using Redux persist to build it instead of just Redux, it's going to be saved even when you exit the application and enter it again. If you are just using Redux, whenever you leave the application, the cart is going to be cleared. So it depends on what kind of application you are building. I'm going to say yes for this one. Once it tells you yarn complete, you are ready to run your project. And that's everything that you need to set up the project and the environment for Windows.
Hello and welcome back everyone. I hope you're ready to learn today. Last time we installed our project and now you can see it's running. Here we have our iPhone X simulator. And here is the text. Welcome to React Native. To get started, edit app.js, press Command R to reload, Command D or shake for development menu. So if I press Command R, the application will reload instantly, which is very cool. So now, if we look at the app.js, we won't be doing any programming in this lecture. We're gonna continue setting up our project. I just want to show you how this works, so you can get a rough understanding if you don't know. Here we have a view, and this view is wrapping these texts. So basically these texts are inside some view which has a style.container. Don't worry if you don't understand this now, it's going to make more sense later. Basically we have this text component which renders some text. This is the text, welcome to React Native. And I can just change this, I can say hello world. Oops. Hello world. Now if I reload the app will say hello world. There we go, very simple, very quick, very awesome. You can see this, all of these view component, text component, and they have this style prop. Now we can define styles for these components. As you can see, the view has a style called container. If we navigate here, you can see that the container has a background color of this hex code. Now if I were to comment this and type in background color, let's say red, you're gonna see the app will be red. There we go. I'm just gonna undo this and write that. We can do the same thing for the text. Here we have welcome. This is the size, the style, font size 20. We can maybe increase the font. We have margin. We can say color to be I don't know, green. And our text is now green. I hope you're getting a rough understanding of how this works. This is very awesome and very cool. All right, we're done with the code. We can close Visual Studio. Let's set up our project now for real. I'm going to close this server, this Metro Builder, terminate it, and also close the emulator. Well, you don't need to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways. So I told you earlier that we're going to be using some tools that are going to speed up our development. The first tool that I like to use is Ignite. All right, let's open this GitHub link. And basically, Ignite is a React Native, well, generator boilerplate plugins. You see, it helps with a lot of things. So let's go ahead and install this. We do have React Native. You guys successfully did that in the last episode, and now we need to install Yarn. If we look at this, we need to choose the operating system on which we are installing this. I'm using a macOS, so I'm just going to follow this simple command, which is just brew install yarn, and that's it. For Windows, we're also, of course, going to have a lecture. You can download the installer, or you can follow one of these steps. All right, now that you have Yarn installed as well, we simply run this command in our terminal. I, of course, have this already installed, so I'm not going to run it. But once you guys are done with that, we're going to come back here to GitHub and type in Ignite new and the name of our project. So once you're ready, Ignite. Well, make sure that we are not in our current project. I'm going to go back to the desktop. All right, so change the directory. So Ignite, and I believe it's new. Yes, Ignite new and the name of our project. Now again, I'm going to call it our project and overwrite this previous one we had. So our project. Now first it's going to ask me, do you want to overwrite this directory? And yes, I do want that. And now we're going to see we're going to get a few questions about how we want to set up our project. All right, the first thing Ignite asks us is which boilerplate would we like to use? We have Bowser, Andros, JHipster available. I like to use Andros. We might have courses on these others, but I think that Andros is very good for learning and working with. So just hit enter, and now it's going to, well, generate the project for us. Now I hope you remember how our project looked like when we opened it in Visual Studio Code just a few moments ago, and you will see how it looks like with Ignite. So basically, the entire project will be set up for us to just start developing. Would you like Ignite development screens? There's no need really. I'm just going to say no. What vector icons library will you use? React Native vector icons. Now, React Native vector icons are great because we get a ton of icons. I believe over 8,000 vector icons which we can use in our app, which is pretty well useful. What internationalism library will you use? Well, this doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say none. What animation library will you use? I'm also going to say none because we are going to be working with Lottie animations made by Airbnb. Would you like to include Redux persist? No. Basically, Redux persist is, imagine if we had in the app we are building, we have a card, and somebody adds like 5 items to his card, and then he quits the app. If we had Redux persist, the next time he opens his app, those items would still be in his card. Now you might want that, you might not want that. I don't know. I chose not to have it. We can still include this later, so don't worry about it too much. Alright, the project is setting up. And remember, if you ever have a problem that you can't solve, you can always Google it. There's always people solving problems, working together. And of course, I'm here to help you. One thing to mention is you should create a GitHub account if you don't already have one, because GitHub is very useful for development, especially if you are in a team. It basically allows multiple people to work at the same time and just push and pull different changes to GitHub. I'm going to explain this in another lecture. Alright, it's adding the Ignite icons, installing React Native vector icons, well, while we wait for this, we can go through GitHub. So you can see this GitHub has this repository for Ignite here, and it has 1,864 commits. And if we click on this, we can see the people that committed here. So 6 days ago, this guy, he did something. And you can see what these people did here. It's basically version control, which is very useful. So if I'm interested in this, what this man did, fix formatting, I can click on this and see what file he changed and what lines he added. Zombie Minecraft, World of Warcraft. Alright. I think our project is set up. It's just running yarn one last time. And again, of course, we are going to navigate to our project and run React Native, run iOS, or run Android, depending on, well, the emulator that you want. Alright, so change directory, our project, React Native, run iOS. And again, this is going to take a couple of minutes to install it on the phone for the first time. So I'm going to see you in the next lecture, where we will continue our development. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello and welcome back. Our app is running, and you can see it's similar to, well, the previous React Native app, but now we have images. It looks a lot better, and we have some text here. Now, if you go ahead and open up this project in your code editor, you're going to see that the project does look similar, but we have two new folders. We have the app folder and a Ignite folder. Don't worry about this Ignite folder, we won't be touching that, but the app folder is what interests us. Now if you open this, you're gonna see we have these nice organized folders here for our code. So here we have a folder for components, and this is basically where we will store our components. And here's the folder for our styles of our components. The same goes for containers, images, navigation libraries, and all of that. Now this helps us a lot. And another thing we need to install to help us is going to be Native Base, essential cross-platform UI component for React Native and Vue Native. Now these guys did an amazing job with this. You have a huge library of useful materials, from buttons, cards, headers, sliders, drawers. All of this it's just amazing what they're giving to us. Now I'm going to open up, whoops, not the kitchen sink, sorry. Let me go back, Native Base. And you even have boilerplates for some some different apps. You have kitchen sink, Twitter clone, native base to do app, native base tutorial app, starter kit, flat app, taxi app. But for now, we're going to go with the starter kit. And once you're comfortable with React Native, you can go ahead and explore these other apps. Now, oops, I'm just gonna go view this on GitHub. I don't want kitchen sink, man. Let me just find the correct link. I think it's this one. Yes, here it is, native base. And if you scroll down to the installation, you will see the installation is actually very simple. And that's it. npm install native base, save. I'm going to find hyper. Make sure you run this command inside of your project. So npm install, and we are installing the native base. Now we write save. If somebody is working together with us on this project and he downloads it through GitHub, when he uses the command npm install, it installs all of these libraries. Let's go ahead and run that. It's going to take a few moments. After we run that, we simply need to link the dependencies to this, our project to these dependencies. All right. That's going to take a couple of minutes. While this is happening, let's go ahead and actually explore this project. So let's go ahead and open this containers folder. The containers are basically, well, you can imagine them as screens that contain some of our components. This screen is a container, and he has multiple components within himself. He has this image, this text with an image, and this body text here. Now this screen which just opened is this launch screen. So you can see it is a container, but it has multiple components within them. Image is a component, scroll view is a component, and we will be building our own components. Now, for example, if I were to remove this image here, you can see that it will disappear from the app when I reload it. We're going to completely change this launch screen as soon as we install native base. So this is the final step of our project setup. Once this is done, we're finally starting our programming. I'm very excited for that. Well, without further ado, do not waste your time. I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you and goodbye. Hello guys and welcome back. So last time when we installed native base, we also need to, well, link it. So we want to go ahead and type in React Native link native base. Run that command. It should link successfully. And here we have our project. You can now reload it and everything works fine. Now, I'm just going to run the server again. Sometimes React Native run iOS. Sometimes when you install native base and then install sometimes when you run the Ignite boilerplate and then install native base on top of it, you might have some issues because Ignite and native base come with a few same packages. For example, you might have the same fonts and that might cause your app to crash. Now, let's see if it crashes for us now. It seems like it won't. All right, great. But in case it does crash for you, if you're on a Mac, how you can solve it? Usually, for me, how it crashes, I'm going to now open Xcode and open your project. Just go ahead, File, Open. Find your project. Here it is. It's going to be desktop our project iOS, and in the iOS folder. And open that. Now, here you want to click on the File Explorer, select your project, and go to Build Phases. in these build phases, there's this tab copy bundle resources, and these are all the fonts that have been installed in our project. Now, sometimes it can happen that you have multiple of these same fonts just copied down, and this will cause your app to crash and it will not be able to build. Now, if you have this issue, just simply delete the ones that are multiples. You will see if you had that issue, below this social font there will be and design and then just starting and typo UI icons like that. Thankfully, we don't have that issue, so we're now ready to go ahead and start coding. Open up Visual Studio Code and navigate to our project. Open it. So the first thing I want to do is, well, work on this landing screen. The first screen the user sees when he actually opens up our app. I'm just going to split this here. There we go. And currently this is in the app folder below container. In containers, it's called the launch screen. And what I'm going to do is basically remove all of these components inside of this view. Now we want a simple blank view. Let's save this and reload it in our simulator to see if it is as you wanted, and there we go, it is now empty. All right, so the first thing I would like to do is create a header of sorts. You remember our previous app, we had a header. If I could find an image of that somewhere. Well, I guess I'll have images ready in the next lecture. All right, but anyway, how we would design that header. If you see here, let's go ahead and walk you through this file here. So first off, we import React and the component from React. All right. Then we import scroll view, text, image, and view from React Native. Now you might notice that scroll view, text, and image are kind of like faded. Now that is because these imports aren't used. They were used, but I deleted them. So again, I can delete them from here. If I were to add a text tag and type in here hello world, you can see that up here text isn't grayed out anymore. And there we have our hello world. Another thing, you can notice here, previously when we looked at our project, we had styles written here, but now we import styles from a folder. Now this is much easier to have the styles in a separate file. Now if we look at this, it says import styles from, now this just means from this folder downwards into styles. So we can see, okay, in containers, we go down to styles, launch screen styles, and here it is, launch screen styles. We open it up, and this is basically the style of the launch screen. And the view has the style called main container. It is the main container here, and we can create a style for this text as well. The syntax for this is style, always style like this, and then we pass in the object of the style and which style it is. For us, it is called here styles, so we need to write it down, styles dot, and now we can call this maybe body text. All right, and let's go, and now we need to actually create this body text inside of our styles component. So below the centered here, write in semicolon, this, the name of our style, parentheses, and here we actually define the style of the text. So if I were to say text align center, the text should appear in the center. I think we don't see it because of the notch. Let's go ahead and say font size 50. There we go. There's our text. We can change the color green. Let's add some padding on top, maybe 50 pixels. And there we go, hello world. Now we can see how elegant this is. We have a component here, which has a style for our text component, and we simply just pass in the text here. Another thing, I can add a new text here, new text component, and this can say React Native. Now this one won't have the same style as this because we haven't defined them. It will be right below this component as it is here. However, if we pass in the style, styles.body text, what do you think will happen before I reload this? So it's going to take all of the style that is contained here and basically just put it in here. So this React Native text is going to align to the center, the font will increase, the color will be green, and the padding from this component, the hello world, will be 50 pixels. So let's go ahead and reload that. And wouldn't you see it? There we go, pretty cool. Another thing to write this style is like this. And then here, so we have two open semicolon, parentheses, curly brackets, and two closed, and then just in there we paste in the code. All right, let's reload. Nothing should be different. And there we go. Let's decrease the font size, 30. And you can see how that works. But this is very, very dirty. You can imagine if we had a lot of components and styles like this, you can get lost very easily. It's a much better solution to just write it like this. And when somebody comes to look at your code to work with you, he immediately knows what's going on. He can just navigate to body text, see what's happening, maybe change something. You get the idea. All right, now that we are a little bit more comfortable with React Native, we're going to, in the next episode, start developing our app. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.